Hello everyone, I just want to let you know that a friend of the channel called Donna has released some new sculpting brushes and they're giving my audience a 25% discount for I think the first 10 people that use code Curtis25. So I'm quite selective with sharing other people's things on the channel now, but Donna's been a friend for a long time, and because I'm going to be doing a lot of sculpting over the next few weeks, I thought this would be something that's quite relevant to me. Actually, the last video about that space leech weird thing is part of a larger project that I want to use these on, but I'll also take the opportunity just to tell you a little bit about how to import brushes into Blender, provided they be marked as assets and then bundled into an asset library, because the asset browser system in Blender is very friendly when it comes to brushes now. So wherever you get your brushes from, for me it'll be on Gumroad because that's where I've got this. We see Donna's done three variations. We've got the ZBrush, Blender Asset Browser, and alphas for Nomad. Under here there's a Blender assets.cats text file and the organic sculpting brushes blend file. Asset libraries in Blender tend to be folders which contain a bunch of blend files, and then inside of those blend files you can have different pieces of content marked as assets, which will flag them up in the browser. So the asset browser will be here, for example. Here's my afterglow lighting pack, but it can be anything, and all different types of content in Blender can be marked as assets. So if we downloaded these two files, or just press download all and then download it as a zip, I've got a folder here called external community projects, and I've made a folder called Donna's organic sculpting brushes. Inside of here, I've got the text file and the blend file. So this is the asset library folder. I'll copy the directory for that. And then back in Blender, I'll go to edit, preferences, file paths. Now I already had it set up. So I pressed the plus button and then I pasted the directory in here. So I'll click add asset library and I will just manually save preferences just to double check. And I've got the import method set to pack. So we know when it imports to brushes, it's going to save the alphas properly inside of the file. Then in the asset browser, I can go and find Donna's organic sculpting brushes. So if I increase the size of the thumbnails, then we get a nice preview there. But you'll notice it's not really a case of just like dragging and sculpting on an object. There is a slightly different window that we need when we're doing sculpting. So let me just apply that. Delete some unnecessary things, click this object, go into sculpt mode, dynamic topology, enable. So you see we got this extra toolbar here, which is now showing the Donna sculpt brushes. Now it might not show the brushes for you automatically. If you click on the little burger menu icon there, you'll be able to tick on asset libraries that contain brushes. So this is a way that you can now filter out and import the asset browser brushes into the sculpting workspace. So we don't actually need to show the asset browser now. And from here, you can increase the size of the thumbnails. So this is how you can use them. So you can select them and start painting. But one thing you'll notice is that by default, these brushes are actually set on, if I go to the stroke method, anchored, which means that it's going to take the point, and then as you drag it, it's going to anchor it out from that point. The problem is, even though I've got dynamic topology enabled, it's not adding geometry that corresponds to the mask. However, if I changed the stroke mode or stroke method to something like dots, then you'll see that it does, but we'll need to readjust the scale, and I can decrease the strength, smooth that out a bit, and you'll see that we are now actually using dynamic topology to add more detail as we go. So if I take one that's quite high frequency in detail, maybe this one down here from the look of it, I can then try airbrush mode, which is slightly different because it kind of leaves a little bit of a delay as you're doing it, but the effect is that it should look less smudged, because one thing you'll notice is if we do the dots method, it can look kind of smudgy and weird. So airbrush actually kind of helps to prevent that a bit because it kind of staggers the imprint of the alpha. But there are other modes you can play with. So drags dot kind of lets you drag it around before imprinting it. Kind of nice if you don't know exactly where you want to put it. And also, as you can see, if we've got like elevated areas, you can kind of preview how the detail will be added to it. Or again, if you hold control, you can do the same thing in reverse. So there's quite a few options to play around with when doing that. Now, when it comes to brushes like this, typically if I'm actually properly doing sculpting in Blender, I would prefer to like block out a basic shape and then do like large shapes and then kind of work down on the levels of detail as we go. Brushes like these are capable of quite a lot of detail because the alpha is actually quite, detailed. I nearly crashed Blender then by increasing the or decreasing the detail size, which increases the resolution. But you can see there that you can get quite a lot of detail with them. So if I was using brushes like this for my work as I intend to do, I quite like that actually, like coming out. This would typically be like a last stage thing for, adding details, high res details, things that you would then want to like bake down onto normal maps for a lower poly object. There is one more thing to keep in mind as well. So, like if I imprint this quickly, and if I do it again, you'll see that we've got pretty much the same orientation going. So this larger bit is like more north of the alpha, same thing there. But if I press Control F, I can rotate the alpha. You can just about see a shadow of it inside the circle. So if I pressed it again, it would be rotated. So that's just one little tip to keep in mind as well. If you're using these alphas, if you're doing a lot of detailing, they might be worth doing some rotational stuff as you go. All right, so thank you for the discount code, Donna. I will again leave the affiliate link in the description if you want to check it out, but I'll be back with more project stuff soon. So see ya. Today I want to tell you about Daniel Oakfield. Daniel has a wide range of experience, not just with 3D, but also general videography, photography, animation, education, and music production. You may already recognize him from his YouTube channel, where he's posted educational Blender content alongside musical experiments. His musical talent is something that caught my attention, because not every 3D artist has a musical side to them, but I found that those who do have a slightly different way of approaching things. So in relation to that, I can recommend checking out his album Vectors. There's a lovely teaser for this on his YouTube channel. So as a personal recommendation, if there are any indie game developers out there looking for a friendly face in the community who they can collaborate with, maybe on some soundtrack projects, and again, even if they need some extra visualization or videography work done, then I can definitely recommend Daniel. If you would like to work with him, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can either contact him directly or fill out the form at the bottom of my services page, and then I will connect you together. Otherwise, let me know if there's any other work you need done and I will find a relevant artist for you. Thank you and have a great day.